Hello, dear friends. My name is Vasyl Pekhno. I'm a Ukrainian journalist, and I invite all of you to watch this latest update on Ukrainian battle map situation as of September the 20th. I'm really excited to tell you some good news because we have them, and that's my pleasure to share it with you. But all of you, please subscribe to our YouTube channel and don't forget to like this video and leave your comments just below it. Let's begin.
Every voice matters. Join our community, support independent journalism and help us bring you the truth from Ukraine. Become a member of Ukraine Today. Join us now.
So let's begin. Friends, what you're seeing on the screen right now is a video from the Special Operations Forces who last night, from the 18th to the 19th of September, carried out an operation. No, by the way, it seems that this operation was actually carried out even earlier, on the night of the 18th of March, September, I mean. The Special Operations Forces of the Armed Forces of Ukraine struck the logistics hub of the 810th Marine Brigade. It is located in the Kursk region in the village, near the village of Hiria. We will then switch to the deep state map, and I will show you exactly where it is. As a result of this strike, you can see how precisely the buildings are hit, targeting specific facilities. In total, you can count 19 strikes that hit storage bases for material supplies, ammunition depots, and locations where the weapons and military equipment of this brigade were covertly stationed. Let me remind you, this is the 810th Marine Brigade. Essentially, this is their forward post, a forward front line point from which the distribution of forces and resources to the immediate front line was carried out. And our shells hit there in what was basically a carpet bombing. Moreover, it was very precise, very accurate, and quite explosively serious. This is 13 kilometers from the state borderline. And the question arises, what could have possibly reached there to strike such targets? Here, a call to a friend was needed, but the call to a friend was not long in coming. And right after that, we had a second wave of enemy attacks, the video of which I will also show you now. But before I demonstrate on the map where exactly this village of Hiria is located, which was struck in the Kursk region, here is the exact spot, the geolocation where it was verified near the Kamishny-Hiria railway. Right here in the Kursk region is a rear base of the 810th Marine Brigade. This is exactly where the strike occurred. And so the OSINTers, by the way, from the Cyberflower community, verified all those 19 strikes on specific targets in this area. You can see all these, sort of explosion emojis. They landed directly on the buildings, meaning all the buildings of this 810th Marine Brigade base are completely destroyed by some astonishing means. It really was like a carpet bombing. And here's an interesting question. So what kind of weapon was it? We got the answer later. From the same Zaporizhzhia community, which published its exclusive video of the attack by Russian servicemen in the settlement of Ukrainsk. If here, Giria is Kurshchina, then Ukrainian is Pokrovsk, in the past, Avdiivka direction. And this settlement is located here. Let me highlight it directly on the deep state map. So Ukrainian, here in the Donetsk region, here it is on the highway near Selidovoy, near Pokrovsk in Ukrainian. By the way, how many kilometers is it from the front line? 16, almost as many as Heria had, 13 from the border. Something of a very similar nature arrives. Let's watch the video from Zaporizhzhia to see what it looked like. And this actually gives us the answer to what we see in this video. This is a drone previously announced by the company Firepoint, the FP2 drone. We know that Firepoint is the manufacturer of the Flamingo missiles, which have been the subject of much discussion and even criticism from people saying, come on, why are you feeding us these flamingos? All of this is made up. All of this is nonsense and rubbish. In reality, obviously, that's not the case. Firepoint previously produced the FP1 drone, which was actively striking targets on the territory of the Russian Federation. This is the FP2 drone with a warhead of up to 200 kilograms. Up to 105 kilograms of warhead with a range of up to 200 kilometers. This is a modification of the FP1 drone, which has a range of 1,400 kilometers. This is the FP2, and this is what it looks like. It was presented literally just recently, and its warhead weighs 105 kilograms. This is a very high quality and effective means, as we can see, for striking frontline areas. It's a kind of middle strike instrument that can deliver blows precisely to the front line, something we've been sorely lacking. This drone was presented by the company Firepoint literally on the same day as the FP7 ballistic missile and the FP9. Two modifications of ballistic missiles from the company Firepoint. Plus, we also know that in their development, the FP5 is actually the Flamingo cruise missile with a range of 2,000 kilometers. So this is not science fiction. You shouldn't think that, well, someone is trying to deceive you. It's not science fiction. Everything just takes its time. By the way, the video I just showed from Cyberboroshno, yes, with the strikes in Ukrainsk. Let me play it again and let's watch this video with great pleasure. This is a video from Ukrainsk and it hits some buildings. What are these buildings in this settlement? These are simply wonderful locations, luxurious locations. These are the deployment sites of the Russian advanced Rubikon unmanned aerial vehicle unit. Rubikon, which is causing us a hell of a lot of problems. This unit that is making the presence of our troops and especially logistics in the Pokrovsk direction extremely difficult. And now the positions of Rubikon are also being hit by our means. So these are very pleasant news, which I simply can't help but celebrate right from the very beginning of this weekly map summary episode. Because lately, near Pokrovsk, we actually have some good things to talk about. And especially when a Rubicon stronghold is being wiped out there, that's even more reason to celebrate. Besides that, about Pokrovsk. Yesterday, I made my conclusion, or rather my statement. And actually, it's not so much about Pokrovsk as it is about this location in the Dobropillia direction, where, as you know, there are 3 such cauldrons, mini cauldrons, well, cauldrons of different sizes that have formed for the occupiers. Commander-in-Chief Syrsky reported on this yesterday. About this direction, since Syrsky was working together with the president in the Dobropillia direction, and he gave more detailed information about the numbers, let's say the achievements of our defense forces, breakthroughs, advances of our troops. Ours in the Dobropillia direction, according to the commander-in-chief, range from 3 to 7 kilometers. Control has been restored in 7 settlements, and another 9 settlements have been cleared of enemy sabotage and reconnaissance groups. So here are those 16 that the president mentioned yesterday, saying that control has been regained over them. In total, during the operation, 160 square kilometers of territory have been liberated, and another 171 square kilometers have been cleared of enemy sabotage groups. Enemy losses in personnel during this time amounted to 2,456 people, of which 1,322 are irrecoverable. Our exchange fund has also been significantly replenished. Just to be clear, this adventure of the Russian troops near Dobropillia cost them 2,500 personnel lost, killed, and wounded, of which 1,300 are dead men. 1,300 people. For this adventure of the bunny ears that was formed near Dobropillia. So these are excellent news that we have from this direction. And, well, probably we should be glad. Why not? Now let's talk about Kupiansk, because the situation here is truly extremely difficult. I continue to criticize, let's say, our official position, which goes something like this. Supposedly, there's not much of a problem in Kupiansk because the enemy isn't in the central part of the city. In my opinion, this is a big problem. The fact that the enemy is present here, basically, in the settlement, right now it's very difficult to drive them out of here. But even with all this, let's say, there are already certain, well, positive trends emerging. I hope that they will materialize here just as they did near Pokrovsk, even though, unfortunately, this was a reactive rather than a proactive stance from our troops here. So there really are certain successes here, which I think will be talked about in due time. At this point, it is critically important to cut off the occupiers' advance in this triangle of Holubivka, Radivka, Kindrashivka. That is to do something similar to what was done in the Dobropillia direction. Then the entire enemy troop grouping that remains in Kupiansk will simply be cut off from the main supply lines. Although, in fact, there is still plenty to take advantage of in Kupiansk, by the way. You can still somehow survive, you can scavenge some food from those houses and so on and so on. But nevertheless, there is still hope that these enemy tentacles that have crawled in here can be cut off. This is very important even from the perspective of our left bank group, because here on the left bank of the Oskil River, in the area beyond the Oskil, in this section where our troops are present, we understand that the situation for our forces is quite difficult. It will be very difficult, God forbid, to retreat from here if the situation in Kupiansk deteriorates. Building crossings over the Oskil now, well, you understand yourself that under enemy fire, this will be an extremely difficult task, if not impossible. Accordingly, Kupiansk must be retaken in any case. Yesterday, the group of troops from the North Operational Command, which operates in this section of the front in particular, announced that a gas pipeline in the Kupiansk area had been flooded and damaged. By the way, let me remind you how exactly this gas pipeline was laid. Here in the photo, well, in this image, you can see it. You see the pipe highlighted in blue is the one that ran, let's say, from Lyman Pershi and came out near Radkivka. It passed under the Oskil, which allowed the Russians to advance again, not all the way to Kupiansk itself, but to this forest in the Radkivka area. Here you can see where this forest is in the Radkivka area. This very forest in the Radkivka area here. It might even be worth showing a satellite image. Nevertheless, such green zones can also be seen here. They are marked in red because that's exactly where the enemy is located. And from here, from this very spot, the enemy was able to reach Kupiansk. They moved along the highway and reached the northern outskirts, reached the northwestern outskirts, where now they are being pushed out. These troops are being blocked within the city itself. Accordingly, if the pipe was flooded, and by the way, this was recently mentioned by Yuri Fedorenko, the commander of the 429th Separate Unmanned Systems Regiment, Achilles. By the way, this wonderful t-shirt with the beautiful, as you can see, RSN PSD. I think everyone understands what this is about. It's not allowed to swear on live air, but everyone knows what this means. This t-shirt is actually, well, the emblem you see of Achilles. That is, this is a wonderful and friendly drone systems regiment, which is actually among the defenders of Kupiansk. So Yuri Fedorenko said that earlier they managed to flood this pipe, and in fact now to make it unusable, at least for some time, for the enemy's use. Now, when the Northern Operational Command reports its complete flooding, we can say that basically the enemy has been deprived of a significant opportunity to amass its resources around the city of Kupiansk, and thus to further penetrate into the settlement itself. But the occupiers will undoubtedly now look for some additional opportunities to continue their Kupiansk operation. By the way, it is also worth noting that our aviation is working very actively in those areas where the enemy is concentrating its reserves to the north of the city. Our aviation is also actively operating in the Zaporizhzhia direction. I think we'll wrap up with that today because, well, there is actually a certain list of positive news as of today. In the Zaporizhzhia direction, the enemy is advancing from the Plavny area, moving through Primorsk towards Stepnohirsk. Here are the southern outskirts of the village of Primorsk. I never get tired of explaining and showing this, and obviously it's probably best to use a satellite image from the deep state resource map to see what it actually looks like in Primorsk itself. Here are these locations. You can see the satellite image, the village of Primorsk. It might seem to be located very much to the north, more to the north. Here is Primorsk. But you can see the cascade of these buildings here. So it has a very interesting and quite unique geography. This particular village, it distinctly starts right here. It then goes like this, extending quite a distance. And all of this entire area is indeed the village of Primorsk. And yeah, so in particular, in this location right here, the enemy is trying to get in here in order to further attack Stepnohirsk. If we zoom in on the map, we can see that there are quite a significant number of houses here. You can see all these streets, all these houses. These might be people's summer cottages. These are the houses the enemy is trying to get into. Accordingly, by getting into these houses, they occupy certain locations. One of the locations they recently occupied was the railway station in the Primorsk area, the Plavny railway station, as it is called here. Here is the exact geolocation of this station in the gray zone near this small lake. And here in the gray zone shown on the deep state map, our aviation is also operating. Here, courtesy of the wonderful Telegram community of Air Force fighters Sonyashnik, we can see how the lost ones, usually groups of 2 or 3 enemy personnel, and there are rarely more than that attacking. So we can't talk about any significant breakthroughs by the enemy, just these small groups of 2 or 3. They constantly end up somewhere where our shells land, like in this case, where an aviation shell hit the enemy's gathering spot, fired from our fighter jets, or sometimes something else arrives, drones or other heavy systems, or HIMARS can also strike. And then the assault regiments and assault units, like the 33rd Assault Regiment, the 210th Assault Regiment, who are also great friends of mine, move in on foot and clear out these areas. So, in fact, today we can say that we've made it through the week. It was a tough week, but things will only get harder from here. Next, we still expect a major battle for Pokrovsk, because right now the enemy has concentrated a huge number of its troops in the Pokrovsk area. According to the data on troop movements that have taken place recently in the Pokrovsk area, the number of Russian occupiers here has increased from the previously announced 110,000 by Commander-in-Chief Syrsky. Now, the community at the Information Resistance Briefing reports that this number has already reached about 130,000 personnel just in this location. So here you have the main answer as to where the decisive battle of the autumn will take place, precisely in this direction. In fact, Syrskyi himself, by the way, also said that overall in the past 7 days, there have been more than 1,300 combat engagements on the front, and a third of them took place right here in the Pokrovsk direction. That's how things stand, friends. On that note, I'll wrap things up. Thank you for your attention. Thank you for being with us. Please like, subscribe, and leave your comments. All the best, and see you next time.